Now that the government is closed, how does that impact you? We're joined now by Lawrence Sprung, founder of Mitlin Financial and the author of Financial Planning Made Personal, for insight and advice and information. Lawrence, good to have you with us this morning on what a remarkable day, really. Let's talk about how this is going to impact people directly. Will people continue to, for example, receive Social Security and SSI checks?
Yeah, so the quick answer to that question is yes, they're going to continue to receive those checks. The important thing here to remember is the government, now that they're shut down, can only spend on what is considered deemed essential services, and services like those you mentioned, Social Security, SSI, those things are essential to the country. So those will continue.
Okay, so does that also include Medicare, Medicaid benefits, related healthcare costs?
It does. Most of the things that you would think that are essential, right, for us are going to continue. I think the important thing here is to understand what is going to continue and what's not. Certain things like that are non-essential are like parks. Zoos, things like that are not essential to everyday economy. So those are not going to continue. And that's where, a lot of the impact's going to be seen on the hundreds of thousands of federal employees that are not going to be receiving their paycheck. That's where a lot of this gets troubling.
And for some of that group, I believe that pay will come later. For others, it may be unpaid, just time they have to do. Is that right?
Now, for most people, once there's an agreement and the government reopens, those payments will be back paid and re-put back into place. It's almost as if they're being furloughed for that period of time. So it'll have an effect on the economy as we are during the shutdown. But at the same time, once those paychecks start rolling back out, it should have a boost on the economy. At least let's keep in mind one thing: these shutdowns are very infrequent. And when they do happen, I think the last full shutdown was in 2013, and it lasted several days. So it doesn't happen that frequently. And when it does, it doesn't typically last very long.
There are so many small business owners across the U.S. who may have tight margins, and even a few days could impact them in a big way. What are you anticipating could be the impact on small businesses?
So, I mean, every business is different. So I think it depends on who they serve, right? If they serve federal employees and that's where they're relying on their revenue stream for their given business, they may be impacted more heavily because those families are not going to see a paycheck coming in each and every week. So those will be affected. If they're dealing with federal contracts where their business serves the federal government, depending on what arm of the government they're serving, that could have an impact. Other businesses, local Main Street businesses, if they're not in a community that is heavily saturated with federal employees, I would expect that there's not going to be as much of an impact with those folks. So, and again, I have to repeat myself, but, most shutdowns do not last very long. I think the median shutdown is about 5 days. So, hopefully this will be resolved very swiftly and stay true to that median or very close to it.
Yes, while it is somewhat extraordinary, there is a kind of system built in that will allow it to all snap back to basics in given time. But let's look back at the individuals. Will tax refunds be delayed?
Yeah, so I think the important thing with taxes are understand, because we're approaching the October 15th deadline, which is for those people that have filed for extension on their personal returns. That deadline does not go away. So you still have to file. You need to make sure that you're filing any tax filings that you need to file on time, estimated payments, things of that nature. Make sure you're doing those. Those tax refunds will still come, albeit there is a very high likelihood that they would be delayed to some degree. But the best thing and the best way to track that is go to the IRS's website, and they have a refund tracking system that you can go in, put your information in, and it will track your refund and let you know when you should expect that to come.
Okay, any final thoughts you want to share with people? We have about 30 seconds left from anyone who's worrying about it or just ways to plan the potential disruptions.
Yeah, I think for those that are thinking about their investments, think about the fact that these are short, and fortunately, stocks are typically not really overly impacted either. Typically, they have an average return in the positive of 0.3% typically. And typically, also after a shutdown, the returns on the markets are typically above average and can gain significant double digits. We've seen that time and time again. So I think in the moment it's a difficult thing to swallow, but at the same time it doesn't typically have a lot of effect on what's going on. And I think the most troubling thing is that those people who are representing us in Congress are still getting paid, even though those other federal workers aren't. So I'd like to see some change there, but that's my piece for today.
All right, noted. Your voice has been heard here, Lawrence. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.